welcome back, everybody. Nice to have you with us. Just before the break, we were talking about the various teams that are going to go through to City Park. That's, of course, starting this Saturday, but we'll talk about that a little bit more in a mo. We said to you that we would bring the highlights. Jerome, before we look at the game here, a big game that was going to come through was this match between False Bay and SK. But I mean, it's fair to say that at this stage of the game, all the games are big games.
No, all the games were big, yeah. And if you look at the amount of people going to these games, it was crazy. I heard that at False Bay, because they park at the B field, that there was no more space for cars to get in.
Really?
Yeah, so it was that full.
Talk to me a little bit about your feeling of, if we just look at, obviously Durban is not on this mix because they get into play now, and Villages. So Durban and Villages, the top two teams, folks, they are guaranteed through. But Jerome, if you look at these teams here, False Bay, SK Walmers, Hamilton's, UCT, look, compare this for me, just from what you've seen so far, and it's going to be interesting to see what the next 2 weeks looks like. But compare it to what you thought it would look like compared to, say, a year ago or 2 years ago.
Yeah, look, it's if you take SK if you ask, like a year ago, no one would give SK a chance to be where they are now, and no one would give SK a chance to beat Van der False Bay. So if you just look at that, then you can see how it changed. And if you look at the universities, also if you look at the points that they got against Hamilton's, and if you look at Marty's, and if you look at UWC, where the universities were also strong, so it means the clubs, I mean the club rugby is always good, but it means they just did the extra more than any other teams normally that's there, played in the finals, whatever. And then obviously we know Durban is always there, so they always have a competitive team. Sometimes it seems like they're not going to make it, but then they come out and then they play good rugby. If you look at Villages, where Villages was and where they are now, so there is a huge difference in the competition, and the teams that normally is not there, they're all there.
Yeah. All right, folks. Well, interesting to. I would not have thought necessarily that the standard of rugby would have been able to get up another level, and what you're saying is that it's gone up another level. So it'll be interesting to see what it's going to look like this coming weekend. But folks, let's take a look at this. Is False Bay against SK Walmers. right, folks. Well, that's the first half. SK Walmers leading 10 points to 3. Jerome, your thoughts first half so far?
Yeah, if you just look at the game, then it's a typical playoff game. Like not a lot of mistakes. You can see the players try to hold on to the ball and they try to play in the right areas of the field. But it's if you look at that first half, and it was definitely like, I think Falsby thought like it's a home ground advantage, and then SK come and then have that lead at halftime. So I think from a psychological point of view, it hurts you. Because it's your home ground, you're supposed to lead, you're supposed to have that, and I think the coaches also plan what's going to happen, and now you have to catch up, and so,
Wow.
but
Well, it's definitely okay. Let's take a look. We're going to take a look at the second half in a second, but we're going to take a break first, folks. We're still looking at the highlights between SK Walmers and False Bay. We're also still going to look at Hamilton's UCT, and then some of the teams that are playing in the top 6 this weekend. Kraaifontein, Durban, Primrose, some of the highlights coming up, and we'll talk about the Challenge Cup, and we'll talk about the Promotion League. Back in a sec, don't go away.